I've already recorded this video once and found out that I didn't have enough memory on my memory card, so here's take two. Welcome to today's video, which is a March wrap-up. I'm going to review all of the books that I read during the month of March. Last year I started doing a monthly book recap on my blog, and then earlier this year I decided to do it in a video format, and I started doing Facebook Live. I do better in an edited format, so we're going to an edited video here instead of the live version. I'm going to be reviewing all the books that I read during the month of March. Some of them I have the physical copy of the book here, other ones were library books, and I do not have them anymore. First up was my first library book of the month, Summer at Little Beech Street Bakery, which was a book by Jenny Colgan. I had read a bunch of her other books. Little Beech Street Bakery was one of my favorites, so when I found out that there were a couple sequels, I put holds on them at the library, and I got this one, and it was book 2, so that was good that it came before book 3, which I'm still waiting on. And I've given it 4 stars. I've really enjoyed this series. It is a chick lit. It is a girl who starts over in a new place after she's had a breakup and has gone bankrupt. She ends up starting a bakery, boys and relationships and all that good stuff. So this second book follows, obviously, the first one, where there's more baking, there's more boys, there's more problems, there's more drama, and in the end it's all tied up in a lovely little bow, which is my favorite kind. Book 2 was Simon versus the Homo Sapiens, which was a book by Becky Albertalli, Becky Albertalli, I don't know how to say it. Another library book. It has been recently made into the film Love, Simon, with Jennifer Garner as his mother, and in the book Simon is a gay teenager. His high school has a Tumblr page, and another student has come out as being gay there, and he sort of contacted them, and they've been having a email relationship back and forth, and the novel follows those emails, follows Simon's life as he comes out to his family, and he inadvertently gets brought out to his friends and school and trying to figure out who this mysterious other person is. And I stayed up late to finish this one because I just had to know who the other person was, and I really enjoyed it. It did a really great job of showing teenage love. It was just a really sweet read. Book number 3 was The Desire Map by Danielle Laporte. I have read this before, and I actually listened to the audiobook version this time around. I'm giving it 3 stars only because it is a little bit woo-woo. It's not going to be for everybody, but there are some really nice concepts in here on how to change your goals from actual physical, tangible things to looking to set goals based on your desired feelings. Whatever those feelings may be for you, that's how you base your goals. Instead of saying, I want to earn $10,000 more this year than I did last year, what is the driving force behind that want for more money? Is it because you want to feel more financially secure? Then that might be a better sort of goal than a tangible amount, because who knows, $10,000 may not be your golden number. It may be $6,000, it may be $25,000. But if you're going by your desired feeling versus tangible amount, it's easier for you to figure out if you've achieved that or not. The next book I read, completely different than a woo-woo book, very scientific, The Legacy by David Suzuki. This is a short little book. I read it in a morning, and honestly, every human on planet Earth should read this book, because we are just using this poor planet to pieces, and we need it to survive. It's not like a lecture. I know sometimes people call David Suzuki Dr. Doom and Gloom or something like that, but it really does sort of put in perspective what we've done in just a short period of time to the planet that we live on, and things that we need to do to make some changes. And it's just a short, quick read, but a really important one, so I highly suggest you guys pick it up. If you live near me and you want to read it, I do, as you can see, have the physical copy, and I will let you read it. If you want to, just hit me up and I will get it to you. Next book I read was called Every Day by David, I hate saying people's names, Every Day by David Levithan. This too has just recently come out as a movie, another YA novel, and this main character wakes up in a different body every morning. It could be a boy, it could be a girl. It's always someone their own age, and always within a certain geographical range of the person he went to sleep as. So he goes to sleep, he or she goes to sleep at night and wakes up in a different person's body every single day. And it sort of follows their journey as they meet somebody's girlfriend and fall in love with them and want to figure out how to have a life with that person. But how can you have that life when you're waking up in a different body every day? It's a super, super interesting premise. I just feel like it wasn't done all that well. Like, I didn't ultimately care about what happened to the characters. I will say, though, that I felt like they wrapped up the ending very well. I liked how it was left, although this is the first in a series. I'm not going to be reading the rest of the series, but I liked the way that it ended. So I will give it that. Then we're going to move on to a cookbook. I got a pressure cooker for Christmas in Instant Pot, so this cookbook has been invaluable because a pressure cooker, or a multi-electric, whatever they're called, a multifunction electric pressure cooker can be a little bit intimidating. So having a whole bunch of recipes, you can see I've got Post-its still and a whole lot of different ones, just makes it feel a lot less intimidating, and you have something to go on when you want to try something new. I didn't necessarily stick to the ingredients 100% in the recipes I tried, but it gave me the guidelines on how to set up the Instant Pot and what to do. So everything I've made has come out really well, and I will continue to try these out. This was a book sent to me by Robert Rose Publishing. This was free to me, but I absolutely like it and would 100% buy it myself because it's good to have a cookbook to go with an Instant Pot. It does come with a recipe guide, but it is pretty sparse. Having something else to look at really helps. Next up is Wild by Cheryl Strayed, and this is a book that's been out for a while. I know a lot of people have read it, and I hadn't read it because I'm kind of a bit of a crab, and that if a book is super, super popular, I often will not read it. Like Eat, Pray, Love is still sitting on my shelf. Yeah, I need to get on that. And this book, I loved it. I loved it so much. I really enjoyed going along with her on the trail, some of her backstory, just the whole thing, and self-discovery was such a delight. I will never walk that trail myself, so it was nice to get to do that through someone else's perspective. Oh, I never should have started in a kneeling position. Oh, my legs. I'm an old lady. Oh, man. And next up was an audiobook that I had picked up from Audible. It's called Worth It, Your Life, Your Money, and Your Terms by Amanda Steinberg. 4 stars is what I gave it. I'm now thinking I should give it 5 because I've thought about this book a lot in the last few weeks since finishing it. It is a book written for women about finance and how we are our own worst enemies when it comes to investing and taking care of ourselves. A lot of women still have that stigma of they don't know much about finance and they just leave it to the man in their lives, and if there isn't a man, they just kind of hope for the best. This is just generalizing, of course, because I was that nerdy teenager who read finance books. Yeah, I was reading The Wealthy Barber at 15. P.S. I am not a wealthy barber. However, this book was so good. I enjoyed it so much. For peace of mind alone, it has been really, really great. I highly recommend it. I listened to the audiobook. Paper copy would probably be even more helpful because you have it to reference back to. Whereas when I want to reference, I have to rewind to try and find that specific area, whereas a paper book you can easily look through. So I would suggest the paper version. I probably will buy the paper version just to have it for easier reference. You don't have to be a girl. If you're a boy and you don't know a whole lot about finance, still pick it up. Next book I read was The Fever Code by James Dashner. This was a prequel, .6 to be specific, of the Maze Runner series. That was a trilogy that came out a number of years ago, and now we've had all 3 movies have come out for that series. So there's the 3 books, and then there was a prequel, which was, I can't remember the name of it, and then there was The Fever Code, which sort of brings the prequel and then the trilogy all together. I do recommend that you read the Maze Runner trilogy, then the first prequel, and then this one in that order if you're going to go through the whole shebang. I don't know if it's because it's been so long since I read the other books or if it was just the book itself. I was interested in it, but I didn't really care, if that makes sense. I was happy to be finished with it. I was happy that I read it, but ultimately I was just like, meh. So I don't know what you want to take from that. Then we moved along to A Beautiful Mess idea book, which is by Elsie Larson and Emma Chapman, and they are the girls behind A Beautiful Mess website or a blog. And I got this primarily for the pretty pictures and inspiration, which it certainly served well as. However, this book has not been updated. I think it came out 2012 or 2013? 2013. anyone in social media knows that things have changed drastically from 2013 to 2018. And I don't think it would take a lot of time to update this book and make it more relevant to today's technology and apps and all of that. As far as the written portions, it seemed a little bit self-serving, like it was them discussing their favorite styles and things like that. And then the end, their ideas on how to show off your photos were, I'm sorry, I think that they were lame. I am a crafty person. I know not everybody is, but who is going to print off pictures to make into paper airplanes to attach to a wreath? Like, you're not going to do that. That's just ridiculous. The next book I read was The Red Queen. Really enjoyed this. It has everything that I enjoy in a YA novel. It was a world divided into two. Half of the world, well, maybe not half, but one part has silver blood and they have some sort of abilities. One section has red blood and those are more of the worker, the less important human people. And the world divides them. And then a girl of red blood finds out that she has a power, and then just all this craziness unfolds. So we have magical powers, a world divided, love, betrayal. The Red Queen is the first of a series, which I will be continuing with because I need to know what happens. I really enjoyed it. Next book I read / listened to was Ready Player One, and this is one that I had avoided for a while because I heard that a lot of people who grew up in the 80s found that it was too self-indulgent, that it was like somebody just threw all of their favorite pop culture references into a book and said, here you go. So I was a little bit iffy about getting it. Then I found that the audiobook was narrated by Wil Wheaton, and that sort of sold me on it. And I really enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it more as an audiobook than I would have as the written word, because I can see how people thought that it might be a little self-indulgent. Some of the descriptions were painfully long. Most people reading this book have lived through the 80s. We don't need to have you describe every little block of a certain video game. We don't need it. And it felt like some of these descriptions just went on forever. And that's one thing I never like in a book, is when their descriptions are too descriptive. Like George R.R. Martin, too much. Even Diane Gabaldon, everybody, we don't need 5 pages on a sunset. You can just tell me that the sun was setting. I have an imagination. So that is my big criticism, is that too descriptive. And I know other people love descriptive things, so that's personal preference. But that is my big critique. I enjoyed the story overall. We've gone and seen the movie. The movie is completely different than the book. Same premise, different otherwise. So if you're going to go see the movie and you've loved the book, just go into it knowing that it's going to be vastly different. The last book of March was Reading People. I'm going to look down so that I can read the subtitle. How Seeing the World Through the Lens of Personality Changes Everything by Anne Bogle of Modern Mrs. Darcy and the What Should I Read Next podcast, which is one of my favorite podcasts. I super enjoyed this book. It was so fascinating to me how she breaks down all the different types of personalities and how we interact with one another and how we need to understand more about the personality of the people that we're working with or dealing with so that we can better understand them and that we can better get along because we understand what's happening. As a result of this book, I now want to go and take all the personality quizzes to find out more about myself. I have a pretty good idea on some of them, but others not so much. And just anyone who works with people a lot and has to adapt to different personalities, you should definitely check out this book. It could change everything as far as how you relate to someone. And another quick read, really enjoyable read, highly recommend it. So that is it for my March reads. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you next month with my April wrap-up. In the meantime, you can always catch me here on YouTube and Facebook with a new video every Friday of Card Confessions. And guess what? There's going to be a new video every Wednesday starting now. This was the very first Wednesday upload date, which means we're now going to have a video on Wednesdays as well as Card Confessions on Fridays. Wednesdays is going to be more of a gambit of different things, so the first Wednesday of the month is going to be my monthly recap on my books, and then we're going to do some other topics during those other Wednesdays, but I hope you will tune in. Be sure as always that you're liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, all those wonderful things, and I hope you are having a great Wednesday. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.